Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the Bank Plus studio.
Check it out.
Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball, joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Rebs and Dogs this weekend, 3-game series. There's always a lot on the line, but when you have one team with 2 wins and the other with 3, and they're going to fight and claw to get into to attempt to get into the SEC baseball tournament, it's game on. Ole Miss has the more veteran-laden team. Obviously, the games are in Starkville. Neither team with any consistency on the mound, but Mississippi State's they've had their doors blown off, run ruled a lot this year, whereas Ole Miss will lose games like 7-5. So as you mix all that up and come up with your gumbo going into the weekend, good luck handicapping that after I just walked you through all that. We welcome in Brad Henderson to the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brad, you want to go ahead and call a sweep, or should we get into something else?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Bo. If somebody had a crystal ball and could tell me how this weekend's going to go, I'd just assume them go ahead and tell me before I get in the truck and head south on Friday.
Well, I know you have to be careful because you're tied in, and this is actually a compliment to Bianco and Lamonis, but I cannot believe the staffs are where they are right now. And I understand there's been some injuries, but even with the injuries, I am surprised with the lack of consistency on the bump, Brad Henderson, from 2 teams.
Yeah, no, you're right. And obviously both teams have had injuries, right? I mean, Cade Smith for Mississippi State, who looks to be back, and when getting him back, it kind of extends the bullpen, and I know that's kind of giving them a little bit of a spark, and Hunter Elliott on our end, obviously a true number 1 as well, not being there. So, you got to figure it out, and Ole Miss certainly is still trying to do that. We saw Xavier Rivas a couple weeks ago get moved into that 2 slot, and then moving a freshman in there who will have his 3rd conference start this weekend, and J.T. Quinn. So Ole Miss is just still trying to figure it out, and like you said earlier, they've been close, but we've been just good enough to lose those games. And, 6 huge weekends left, obviously starting this weekend, and it's going to be a hostile environment, Super Bulldog weekend in Starkville, but it's always a joy for me to go down there and watch these 2 get after it.
I thought J.T. Quinn looked really, really good on Saturday. Brad, what did you see?
Yeah, he did. I tell you, for a true freshman – to be thrown in this scenario, he really handles himself with a lot of poise. He gets up there, he looks the part, he throws 3 pitches for strikes, and he's given our offense, really going back to College Station and this weekend, he's given us a chance to win, and we just haven't been able to get the timely hits that we needed to. We out-hit Arkansas on game 3, but, a couple crucial errors, a couple base running mistakes. And, when your margin of error is so small, you lose those games. But, the bright side is that kid's got a bright future, and Ole Miss is really close to putting it all together. Obviously, at 2-10, they have not done that yet.
Are you expecting a shakeup in the rotation?
I really don't. And the only reason I say that is if everything stays on pace, I think you probably get Hunter back next weekend. I think Xavier Rivas has been our most consistent guy, but it would be hard to throw him in on a Friday knowing probably next weekend he would go back to Saturday. So I think they'll just grind it out one more weekend and see if they can get some good performances. I don't think that they've pitched bad enough to lose. It's just we haven't pitched well enough to win. We haven't been able to make that pitch to get off the field. Now, we're not giving up just huge innings, but, they're giving up a lot of hits, and they're giving up some home runs, which we are not hitting on the flip side. So, obviously, I think we're close. I think there's a couple of veterans in the bottom of the lineup that have to get going. It's good to see Ethan Leger get going this past weekend, but 1 through 9, we've got to have better at bats.
Yeah, I think Rivas could give I think that could be a bad matchup for the Mississippi State lineup. We're visiting with Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball. You can hear him on the radio throughout the state of Mississippi. Hell of a player for Ole Miss, too. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, which, speaking of, you were a heck of a hitter. How about Jacob Gonzalez taking that pitch off his shoelaces out to Tupelo against Arkansas?
Yeah, that was a huge 2-run homer to tie it up there in those middle innings. And, I was just hoping there in the ninth we could get back to him. He was on deck. But, he's starting to come around. I mean, the numbers have always been good. I'd like to see the power numbers get back up there. I think he's got 5 or 6 home runs right now. But he's such a staple at the top of the order. And, he's the one guy on that team you love to see him come up in big situations. So he had a big game in game 2 against Arkansas. But, again, collectively, we got to get some runners on for him. He's hitting at the top of the lineup. So you're needing Chatinier, who's hitting around 060 in the league. Obviously no one saw that coming at this point. He was a slow starter last year, but I don't think anyone saw him having 2, 3, 4 hits in the league at this point. And then McCants has struggled as well. So, if you can get some production from those guys and give Gonzo and Groff and Harris an opportunity to drive in some runs, good things are going to happen. We just haven't gotten much production from the bottom of the lineup in league play.
Well, Chatnier's a hell of a player, and he's proven. What are you seeing at the plate that he needs to do, just tweak to get it rolling?
Well, I think right now he's missing fastballs, and that's what he has typically in the past been. He's been a tremendous fastball hitter. First pitch, second, early in the count, and right now he's just fouling those back, and he's getting behind in counts, and then guys are being able to go to their off speeds and get him out front on some pitches. So, the timing looks good. It's just he's just missing pitches.
Gotcha.
He hit a long foul ball, home run foul that would have tied the game late in game 3 against Arkansas. But he's got to get it going.
Yeah.
This is his 4th year. So there's really no excuses other than it's a confidence thing right now, and it just takes a couple hits to get going, and we certainly need him to get going sooner rather than later.
He is Brad Henderson on the Out of Bounds Show, talking Ole Miss baseball. Rebs Dogs this weekend, 3-game series. It will be wild, and it's really hard to read the 2 teams. Excuse me. Although I will say Mississippi State's so I thought Brad made a great point just a few minutes ago. Ole Miss isn't giving up like 6 runs in an inning. Mississippi State's done that. Like all of a sudden it'll get away from them. They'll give up 5 to 8 runs in 1 inning because of walks and hit by pitches, and then throw it around the yard, and you don't know what the hell's going on. So it's that's not how Ole Miss is losing. Again, they've got 6-3, 6-4, 7-5 games where Mississippi State's getting 12-1 type stuff. So I don't know what you do with that. We mentioned Quinn and Rivas. Brad, give me another guy that, whether it's mid-relief or closer, that you're eyeing and you're like, all right, he's got good stuff. He could be close to really being a big piece of the puzzle down the stretch for Bianca.
A guy named Braden Jones. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's been really, really good out of the bullpen. He'll get up to a mid-90s fastball, upper 80s slider. And the thing that has really excited me about Braden is he pounds the zone, but his location is so good. When he misses, he's not missing down the middle of the plate, bell ties. He's just not getting hurt. And I don't know that was a name that I necessarily thought coming out of the fall could be that guy, kind of like the emergence of Josh Mallett's last year.
Mm-hmm.
Braden Jones could certainly be that guy. So you'll see him now pitch in situations that matter, in those 1 or 2 run games that Mike needs to get 2 or 3 innings out of a guy, and he could close the game. You could bring him in the 7th, and if he needed to get 9 outs, he could certainly do that. So he's been a pleasant surprise, and he'll be a local kid. He's a
MRA.
Yes, he's a Mississippi kid, so obviously this weekend will mean a lot to him as it does so many in-state kids on both these teams. But that's the beauty of this rivalry. And but the funny thing is, I can remember back playing in it as well. We played against a lot of these guys or with these guys in summer ball.
Yeah.
And they don't hate each other. Now the fans, that may be a different story, but these kids respect each other. But I know a lot of them are really close friends, and will probably Saturday night go get a bite to eat together. And that's the beauty to me, because I got to experience it. That's the beauty of the Mississippi State Ole Miss rivalry.
It's funny. Braden Jones from MRA is who Brad Henderson just referenced, and he's having a heck of a year. He's at a MRA right here in our backyard, and that's funny, Brad. His younger brother Brennan and my son are seniors at MRA, and Brennan's been over to my house about 100 times. So it's all, like you said, they know each other, they played against each other and travel ball and so on. As far as going into the Ole Miss's schedule flips starting this weekend, because Mississippi State's not a good baseball team, and then you've got very, very winnable series with Georgia and Missouri and Auburn and Alabama, including this weekend. This could line up, because if you can grab enough wins and get in the SEC baseball tournament, you just never know what magic could happen, Brad.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you start doing the math if you're an Ole Miss fan, and you start trying to figure out if we can get to this scenario or this scenario. But we knew going into the season, the first 6 weekends were truly going to be a gauntlet. The entire league's a gauntlet, but, let's be honest. We played 3 of the top 5 teams in the country the first 4 weekends in Vanderbilt, Florida, and Arkansas. A&M's starting to get hot. We knew going to Starkville was always tough. Hadn't had a lot of success going there, and it looks like offensively Mississippi State is starting to figure it out. That lineup is becoming more dangerous by the day. And then you get LSU. But you're right, on the back end, you felt like there was some winnable series. You just gotta somehow find a way to win some games these next 2 weekends before you hit that final stretch, and that final stretch with, knock on wood, hopefully a healthy Hunter Elliott. So, you just can't fall so far behind, which we've clearly almost done to this point, that you can't claw your way back into the SEC tournament or thereafter. But once you get in the tournament, anything can happen.
Right.
And kind of like we saw last year, you got to catch some breaks, but if you're healthy and playing well, you can beat anybody at any point. But at some point, the tide's got to turn, and you've got to get some momentum, and that's why this weekend in Starkville was so big for the Rebels.
All right, what did you make of Arkansas? And here's where I'm going with that. I know Van Horn and them are always really, really good, and at times they've had dominant teams, elite teams. I don't think they're elite I think they're good, but I don't think they're elite. Kind of like when Mississippi State got beat by South Carolina a couple weekends ago. I like that team, but I don't think their record was quite indicative of who they are. I don't see a dominant team. Now, I know teams can still catch fire, like you just referenced, and become that way. How would you size up that Razorbacks team compared to the last, 4 to 6 seasons, Brad?
They're solid. Just like you said, do they scare you 1 through 9? No. And to be honest with you, I know that the records are completely different, but I think there's a lot of parity with Texas A&M, with Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama. I think there's a group right there. When you get away from Vanderbilt, Florida, healthy LSU, I think anybody on any given weekend, there's a lot of parity in those middle to bottom tier teams, and it just simply boils down to who plays better baseball that weekend. Who makes pitches to get off the field, who gets timely hits, and who plays good defense. But You're right. I did not think they were, and they've had some injuries on the mound too. They got a really good closer in Tiger who didn't pitch. They've got Wiggins who had Tommy John before the season. So they can sing the same song that we all sing as far as injuries go. But 1 through 9, I didn't think they were scary. But they grind out at bats. They'll roll the ball around and make you play good defense. And then, like Van Horn always typically does, they play really good defensively, and we saw that throughout the weekend when they played Ole Miss.
He is one hell of a coach, that is for sure. All right, Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball. You got one more?
Yeah,
Blake?
well,
All right, cool.
I have a question real quick.
On the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line, Rebs Dogs 3-game series this weekend in Starkville. It's also Super Bulldog weekend. Blake?
Yeah, you just mentioned something that I think is interesting, and we talked to Steve Robertson about this yesterday. Gosh, I feel like it's Thursday. Yesterday, and we've talked about this ourselves on the air. You said, and just like Dave Van Horn teams always do, they played really good defense. State and Ole Miss have never been teams that just boot the ball around consistently.
No.
But this year, it's not one team and it's not one position. It feels like any given moment, anyone on the field for both teams could boot a ball that matters. What do you attribute that to for Ole Miss that you see every pitch? Are we making too much out of it because they've just come at crucial times and it's not that much more? Or is there really like something weird going on where, as we've seen with State, Ole Miss is struggling to field the ball, especially in high-pressure situations?
Yeah, I think it's more the high-pressure situations or at crucial times. But I also think I don't know that we're any worse defensively this year than we ever have been. In fact, our numbers are pretty good. It's just we're not scoring enough runs to overcome that. If you're up 10-6 and you kick a ball and you win 10-7, nobody says anything about you defensively.
Good point.
But if you're down 5-4 and there's a runner on first base, and this happened in Game 3, and they hit a ball to our right fielder and the ball rolls up his arm and the guy scores from first base and you end up losing by 2 runs, it gets magnified, right? So then it's, well, we didn't play good defense. Well, we didn't, but again, we're not scoring enough runs to kind of offset that. And what I really meant by Dave Van Horn, and you go back and look at some of his past teams as well as this year's, many times this weekend we had opportunities to put a crooked number on the board or have a big inning, and they make that pitch and they turn the double play that a lot of teams don't turn at the college level, and they get off the field or they get themselves out of a huge inning and they minimize the damage. And I've just seen it now in my 4th year. They do it to everybody, and that's just kind of what they breed there. They're really good up the middle. They're really good behind the plate, and they're certainly really good in the outfield. So you have to put together not necessarily a perfect day, but you've got to play really well to beat that team.
No doubt. Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball, color analyst on the Out of Bounds Show and the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Brad, we really appreciate your time this week, and we'll catch up again next week. Thanks, man.
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
Hindu on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line previewing the State Ole Miss series, and here we go. 3 games, and I can't imagine what the streaming numbers will be in the state of Mississippi, from North Mississippi down to South Mississippi, and then we know that the attendance will be bananas. It is going to be packed at the ballpark. Weather looks like it's shifting in the right direction. You don't ever know this time of year, but it looks, I think, a little bit better than it did just yesterday on the show. So maybe it'll hang on and maybe even continue to clear out. We'll just have sunshine and clouds and a big weekend of crawfish and food on the grill and some competitive baseball.
That's what we want. We want a lot of food, a lot of fun, and competitive baseball. That's all you can ask for.
A lot of food, a lot of fun, competitive baseball. Let's talk about our giveaway on National Pet Day. We really went heavy dogs and cats. Well, dogs with a little bit of cat discussion earlier in the show because it's National Pet Day. And our 7:30 segment, which is a ton of fun, where we lay out a bunch of stuff and then talk nonsense. Who knows what we'll do. We put together a Tito's vodka giveaway because Tito's had their slogan, or still does, vodka for dog people. And it really took off around 2000, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And we put together a Tito's dog leash and golf towel and commemorative 25th anniversary piece, which is really nice. It's like a bottle topper. It's heavy. It's really nice. Edwin White's Golf Shop threw in a dozen golf balls, which is cool. And we'll throw in some Y'all Lifestyle swag. Two people will win that. So it'll be 2 sets loaded up. All you have to do is share your tag us on social media with your best pet pick. Tag us on social media with your best pet pick. We've had some really good ones today on Twitter, and I haven't checked Facebook.
We've had them there too.
Okay. And then my Instagram account is @Bo_bounds. @Bo_bounds. So tag us on social media, best pet pick, and that's how you enter, and you could win.
That's
Some
easy.
super cool Tito's stuff. We'll give away this sweatshirt tomorrow.
You're dripping the sip?
Is it dripping?
What's it say?
Come to the
Come
sip.
to the sip, sorry.
And it's a sugar bowl.
Oh.
I've never worn it, so I just put it on for this interview. It's a sugar bowl from a couple years ago.
Nice.
Come to the sip. It's a large.
Is
But
that
I feel
what-
like it's a big large. It definitely way too big for me.
Kiffin's trying to get kids to stay in the sip this year now.
Oh, wow.
That's what they'll have to switch. They'll have to make new sweatshirts instead of come to the sip.
Stay in the sip.
Stay in the sip.
Okay. All right.
Right? I mean, that's the goal, I guess, this year, right? A little concerted effort on high school recruiting.
It is.
Well, Mississippi
they're
recruiting.
they're flipping their script and approach. And this class, according to the experts, whoever they are, is loaded.
Just trying to find some recruits.
Me too. By the way, we're recruiting companies. You want to put, you want to grow your business or put lighter fluid on your brand, it goes straight through the Out of Bounds show in ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I thought Mike Detillier was phenomenal on the Reggie Bush New Orleans Saints story earlier and how that came about. It was really good.
Yeah.
If you missed that, go to Apple Podcasts, search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. We're also on Spotify. Apple Podcasts, search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Yesterday, Matt Janella joined us after the show. He was with Sports Illustrated, Golf Digest, and Golf Channel, and he weighed in on Phil and Tiger and the Live PGA thing. Now, some of the golf nerds, I mean that with all respect, I'm a Sports Talk Radio, SEC football nerd. Now the golf nerds are realizing, hey, we need to have the Live and PGA players on the same courses several times a year. I mean, hello. It was the first time we got to see it. The Live guys played well, and the Tour guys played well. Let's figure out a way to get them playing against each other a lot more. And if there's friction, it's even better. Ask people in the Ole Miss Mississippi State rivalry, Ohio State, Michigan, Bama, Auburn, right? I mean, this is what it's all about. Apple Podcasts, search the Out of Bounds show with Bo Bounds. Don't forget that Drago's is just crushing it with those charbroiled oysters. And, oh, man. Let's go with a shrimp po' boy, a cold beer, and a dozen or 2 charbroiled oysters from Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar on the property of the Hilton Jackson on County Line Road. We'll see you tomorrow.